Something like a wedding or something like that we were mentioning earlier on. So both of you now then, I guess, because we've sort of talked about why you do this and the kind of stuff you get from the groups, but for people who are listening to this that want some tips, maybe they've got a presentation to do at work or a presentation as part of a job interview, what would you say are those key things to remember when you're standing up in front of an audience? Julianne, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Gavin and I both have some tips, and it is interesting because I've looked at them both, and they are similar, but they are slightly different too, which I think is interesting and hopefully helpful. I have a few here, and my first tip, and this has helped me through. I can't even tell you how many both table topics and Toastmasters speeches, but also presentations in class. And I just finished my MBA, so I've been a student myself. And, I started as a nurse, and going into an MBA class was extremely intimidating. So I relied on these skills and these tips that I've learned in Toastmasters. And the first one that I always try to keep in mind and start out in any speech is to start in the moment of what I'm talking about. And I suppose that sounds a bit vague, but what I mean is it's easiest to picture if someone asks you, okay, describe your Christmas vacation, for example. So a very sort of simple topic, and lots of people when they're starting to talk will start in a chronological order or, describe the events, etc. And for myself, I really find what has helped me the most is to actually pick a moment and live in the moment and describe it. And all of a sudden, it forms your speech, really, because you're talking about how you felt, and you're
painting a picture,
You're painting a picture with words, exactly. And it really helps to develop other speaking skills, such as bringing in body language and vocal variety and the changing of your tone. If you're feeling the emotions of that experience again, it's just very natural to sort of develop that storyline and get into the speech. And that brings me to my second point, which I like to call dare to disturb the universe.
Right.
Which essentially means, if you're up there and you think you're being very enthusiastic and you're, being very out of your box, what is actually coming across to the audience is probably less than you feel. So dare to disturb the universe means just, give it all you have.
Accentuate everything, yes.
Exactly. And that enthusiasm that you can put into your speech and any sort of speaking situation you're in will really bring to life what you're trying to say.
Because you're kind of acting in a sense, aren't you?
Well, it helps if you can. If you can picture two people giving a speech, and even in an office sort of setting, the one who's dramatic and sort of has some enthusiasm and passion about what they're speaking about, you really just sit up and pay attention.
Yeah, that's true.
Regardless
that's very
of
true.
the topic, yeah.
Gavin, what about you? Have you got a couple of tips to share with us?
Well, can I just say, if this was television, it'd be fantastic. You should have seen Julianne's hands.
I know. She's throwing herself around, isn't she?
Her hands are thrashing around. She's gesticulating as though she's giving a sermon. It's absolutely fantastic.
I know. She just slapped you around the face as well, didn't she?
Yeah.
What have you got for us?
I would certainly back up everything that Julianne said. They're absolutely fantastic tips. But one thing that I think people often do is to not pause and not breathe. It's very important to remember if you're just speaking on your own. If you're having a dialogue, you breathe when the other person's talking. But I think people sometimes stand there at the microphone or the lectern and just let it all spill out like a river. And then they go, it's very important. If you just take a breath and a pause from time to time, it helps you to not and ah so much, and it helps you to give yourself a moment to think of any additional things that you want to say and so on. Like Julianne said as well, vocal variety, yes, use your variation of tone and emphasise things. I'd say write the speech out in full and practice it. But on the day, you're better off using bullet points rather than a script. There's nothing worse than someone standing up with a script and reading it out.
Oh, it's awful, isn't it? It's very, very boring. And also, that I think having done that before, you lose your place very easily, don't you?
Yes.
And I think that sort of takes away the confidence a little bit.
Yes, I'd be hopeless with my bad eyesight if I did that. I'd be lost. But when I first started working in the media, one thing that helped me a lot when I was sat with someone talking to a microphone was that someone said to me, I think it might have been Steve Backshall, who does the wildlife stuff on the BBC, said to me once, imagine you're having a beer with the person. And at the moment, I'm imagining that I'm just having a beer with you, Louisa.
Yeah, I wish we had one here, actually, Gavin.
And by the way, can you go and buy me another pint?
And a packet of salt vinegar.
Just, relax and imagine it's a social occasion rather than, think about, there's millions of people listening to the Louisa show and the whole world's listening to me. I don't think about that at all. I just think that we're, Julianne, myself and you are just having a nice little chat together.
It's true, actually.
And relax.
It's one of those things, I think that's one of the interview skills that people often think about as well, don't they? When they're being interviewed, they think about their potential boss sitting behind the desk with no clothes on, and suddenly it brings everybody back down to earth again.
No, I'm not thinking about my boss with no clothes on. Trust me, I'm not.
No, don't do that. It's been lovely to meet you both. Have you got any sort of contact details if somebody wants to find out a little bit more about your groups?
Absolutely. We've got two... First, the ISIS Speakers Club.
Yeah.
People should be very free to call our president, Don O'Neill, on Oxford 724542.
Okay.
Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Sorry, my eyesight's bad and I just need to be very careful.
724-542.
That's
okay,
right.
We've got that number. And
yes, or email at info@Oxford
dash
ISIS Speakers, no spaces there.
Okay.
.co.uk.
Brilliant.
Or even better, the website is www.oxford-isisspeakers.co.uk.
Brilliant. That's great. Thank you very much indeed. It's been lovely to speak to you both. Thanks ever so much for coming in.
Thanks, Louisa. Can I just mention quickly the Oxford Speakers Club?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, so we are, our president is Michelle Reed, and our email is similar. It's info@oxfordspeakers.co.uk. Or we have a phone number as well, is 077-57-989-222. And our club meets every second and fourth Tuesday of each month, whereas Gavin's club, the ISIS Speakers, meets every first and third Thursday of each month. So you can actually, if you're really keen to jump in, you
do
can
both.
Exactly. Yeah.
Come and join us. It's
please do.
Fun.
Oh, I certainly won't. It's been lovely to meet you. Thanks ever so much for coming in. And Gavin, best of luck for the rest of your recovery. Good to see you.
Thank you very much, Louisa.
Thank you, Louisa.
27 minutes past 12 o'clock here at BBC Oxford. We'll get the latest travel news in just